Trauma Therapist Podcast, episode 343. Welcome to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy Macpherson. My mission is to raise the awareness of trauma and to help support and inspire new trauma workers through this podcast and my membership community, Trauma Therapist 2.0. Thanks so much for joining me today, and here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. Guy Macpherson here. Very excited because today's a little bit of a special episode in that I'm announcing a live online training / workshop / experience that I'm doing beginning Monday, March 4th, and it's going to go for about 10 days. Well, it's not about 10 days. It's going for 10 days, Monday, March 4th through the 8th, and then the 11th through the 15th. And it's called the Heart-Centered Therapist. And really, this is an online experience about becoming the best you / therapist you can be. It's about getting in touch with your core, getting in touch with your heart, getting in touch with your human beingness. And this topic just so ignites me. And I'm going to obviously talk more about the logistics and all the details of this workshop. You can find more about it by going to theheartcenteredtherapist.com, theheartcenteredtherapist.com. You know, as I've been doing this podcast and now over 300 and whatever it is, some odd interviews, what's just blown me away is how much of this work, how much of, whether you're a therapist, a coach, a counselor, social worker, whatever, if you're working with people who've been impacted by trauma and in therapy in general, but trauma specifically, how much of this depends on being able to be who you are, to be authentic, to be a witness, to be present, to be a human being with another human being. Think about it. When someone is impacted by trauma, and when we're talking about interpersonal trauma, heart and soul and trust, self-trust, self-belief has been ripped away. And in most cases, what would you need? What would you want? You might not even know it, but for someone to be a witness, to be there in heart, right? In spirit, in soul. And then that's why many people have called this work soul work. When I first started doing this podcast, I got into it because I needed, when I was doing my internship, I was, commuting and always just thinking about clients and how I screwed things up and just wishing I'd had what I thought a master therapist, a seasoned therapist sitting right there beside me to tell me, what to do, because I thought, I was sure I wasn't doing the right thing, that what I was doing was certainly the wrong thing. And over and over through interview and interview, as I began to do these interviews on the podcast later, what unfolded for me was the realization and hearing it in the words of my guests of how everything points back to your ability to be who you are. And that sounds so simple. It sounds so easy. But for me, so much got caught up for the longest time in, what I knew, what I should know. And this is certainly not to dismiss or discount knowledge. Of course not. And interventions and techniques. No, I'm not saying that at all. But to be used in conjunction, obviously, the importance of being who you are. within that context of working with someone. And again, whether you're a therapist of any kind or a coach. And I soon, things really became cemented for me when, I was at my last position that I'd been there for 5 years, and I was working with kids, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, and how amazing experience this was for me, how I learned so much about, working with kids and assessing and treating kids who were showing early signs of psychosis, and working with the trauma, embedded within that population, and how much I learned to just relax into just relax, period, and to not need to prove anything to a client or to myself or to colleagues, and how difficult and challenging that was for me, because I was just out of school and, just so excited to learn and to utilize what I was learning. And I denied so much for so often the simplicity of allowing myself to walk into that room and to be myself with that other person. Oftentimes I had this clinical hat on, and I'm not saying I was like this rigid robot, but I felt that I needed to be certainly what I'd spent 5 years, 6 years studying to be. And it wasn't, slowly things shifted for me. As I learned, I was able to more and more connect and communicate my presence, my authenticity, and to share that and to be vulnerable, to allow myself to be vulnerable. Things really didn't click or shift until my mom died. I was at work, and again, I've talked about this on the podcast, but I want to share this again because I think it's important, because it just blew me away. I mean, my mom died unexpectedly. I was like devastated. I took some time off from work, came back. I was in session with another client who knew nothing about my experience. I didn't share that personal experience, but they started sharing an experience they had with a relative who passed away, and that just flooded me, unlike anything I'd experienced before. And I knew I needed to leave and take more time away, and I did. And when I came back, it was as if I felt I had nothing to prove. I felt I need to have an agenda. I didn't need to do anything. But what I did want to do is I wanted to share in this being bond, if that makes sense. I wanted to walk into that room and to share in the humanness, the experience of being human. I wanted to do that with this person who, whoever that client was. I wanted to do that. To me, that's powerful. There's no need to prove anything. Uncovering this, discovering this, allowing this to unfold is what I want to do in this training, this workshop, this experience called the Heart-Centered Therapist. So that's just a little of the inspiration for this. And I love, I do this in coaching, and I had some group coaching experiences where with some of the members, I was oftentimes this gets in the way. There's a lack of confidence. There's this need for, especially newer clinicians, to have to know something in order to be with a client. Because if you're constantly thinking that you don't know something, think about how much that's going to inhibit you. How restrained you're going to be, how much that's going to interfere with spontaneity, with creativity, with your vulnerability. These are the things I love helping people see, helping people uncover. And this is what I want to do with this workshop, with this training, the heart-centered therapist. This is what this is about. All right, so let's get into some logistics here. This is going to start, again, it's going to be a 10-day training / workshop over Zoom. Just out of the gates here, this is not going to be individual coaching or group coaching. This is not going to be a workshop on, the neurobiology of trauma or trauma educational workshop in that sense at all. Rather, this is going to take place over Zoom video. It's going to go again from Monday, March 4th through the 8th, Monday through Friday, and then again, Monday, March 11th through Friday, March 15th. It's going to start at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time each of those days and go for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. So for 30 to 45 minutes, I'm going to be sharing a video lesson and, going over some of these topics here. This is going to be a group experience, something like a group challenge, but it's designed to be inspiring. It's designed to give you the confidence to realize that who you are as a person, as a human being, is what's needed for your clients, is what's needed so much for this work. And it's what I think about when I think of Bruce Perry coming on the podcast and talking about how important it is with simply to connect with people, to be with people, and how he so eloquently and amazingly talks about that in his book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, and Sharon Stanley, who's been on the podcast and a guest on Trauma Therapist 2.0 in her book. And a lot of what Daniel Siegel talks about in his new book, Aware, connecting. So this is going to be a group experience. It's designed to be inspiring. I'm going to my goal here is to create a safe environment for people to come on these calls, to create an amazing community of people who want to do this work, who want to explore and investigate and unleash their core, the heart of themselves. This is designed to be thought-provoking so that you'll take action, inward action, okay? The benefits of which are going to be felt by the people you work with, again, whether you're a therapist or a client. It's about coming together. Again, this is not going to be individual coaching of any kind. The focus here is on you, specifically for new trauma therapists. You'll be able to engage. Again, this is going to be on a Zoom video call. You'll be able to engage with the other group members via chat. Okay, there's going to be a chat box. There's going to be no way to fall behind here, because after each session, okay, I'm going to get the videos, I'm going to get the MP3s, and I'm going to get the text of the transcript of the chats and send them all to you. Okay, so you'll have everything will be uploaded to my online course platform over there at Teachable, and you'll have access to that immediately, and forever and ever you'll have access to that. Okay, so as far as what's included, you'll be able to watch the videos, you'll be able to download. You'll have the audio files as MP3s. You'll have access to the daily chat transcripts. I'll be asking you guys to, comment on what I'm saying, to offer your thoughts. Just to be upfront here and completely transparent, I'm probably not, given the fact that hopefully there's going to be a bunch of people on here, I'm not going to have time to respond to each chat at that point. But I will later, and then respond to those in my next, the next daily video call, if that makes sense. Also, as a bonus for signing up, you will get access to each of my 3 ebooks. They'll each be on that platform. So that's Inner Work for the New Trauma Worker, that's Therapists Healing Vets, and that's the New Trauma Worker ebook. Okay, so in terms of topics, what are we going to be looking at from day to day? Again, this is about you being human, and it sounds so weird to say that, but it's about learning to be authentic, allowing yourself to be authentic. What is required of that for you? This involves, understanding your story, your experiences, what brought you to this place. So we're going to be looking at those things. I'm going to be asking you and inviting you to look at, your purpose for doing this work, your agenda for doing this work. And you can learn more about these. I'm just going to give you a snippet of some of these topics, and you can learn more about them by going to theheartcenteredtherapist.com. But this is what this is going to be about. If this is amping you up, if this is getting you excited, I want to invite you to join me and join us. And again, my goal here is to create an environment. I mean, I can envision myself doing this as a live event, a live workshop, and even having a live conference centered around this. I mean, the podcast, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time or even for a short time, you'll know that my focus is on this point. It's on reaching my hand into the gut of my guest and saying, what is driving you in this work? What are you loving in this work? How did you get here? The answer to that is so important. It's so significant, because if it's illuminated and if it's investigated and if it's honored, right, that can be used to help you in your work. If it's not, okay, and it wasn't for me, okay, if it's not explored and honored, it can interfere. It can influence the interventions you choose, how you interact with your client, the degree to which you interact with your client, your agenda, how you organize that agenda, your biases, your fears, what you respond to, what you choose not to respond to, and how you respond. All these things interact. And once the kind of a light of illumination is shown on these things, once these things are illuminated and explored and loved, there's an exhalation, in a sense, that takes place. There's a freedom that takes place. There's an absence of a need to do, to prove, to show, to steer, to heal, to fix. And with that comes more of an appreciation of the moment and allowing oneself to be in the moment and allowing your client to be in the moment too. So once again, man, I love talking about this stuff. This is called theheartcenteredtherapist.com, or rather the Heart Centered Therapist. You can access it, learn more about it by going to theheartcenteredtherapist.com. If this is exciting you, especially if you're new, this is certainly applicable for any therapist, but my love is working with trauma and working with people, newer therapists who are starting out on their trauma-informed journey. So that's where I'm going to be leaning. But of course, if you're a therapist, or if you know a therapist of any other kind who might benefit from this, you can certainly share that with them and invite them. You can learn more about it by going to the heartcenteredtherapist.com, theheartcenteredtherapist.com. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much again for supporting the podcast, and hope to see you at the training. Take care. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. I've teamed up with Audible.com to bring you a free audiobook when you sign up for a free 1-month trial. This is amazing, and it's a no-brainer. It's so easy. Go to thetraumatherapistproject.com/free book. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com/free book. Select your book and enjoy. If at the end of the month you decide the membership isn't for you, it's not working for you for whatever reason, you simply opt out, but you keep your book. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from. It's good on your iPhone, your Android, your tablet, whatever. Look, continually keeping up to date and informed is key in our field. It's crucial. They have classic works such as Trauma and Recovery by Judith Herman, also newer ones like The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and the one that I'm going to be recommending today, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog by Bruce Perry, one of my favorites. Plus, they have an amazing return policy. So get your book by going to thetraumatherapistproject.com/free book, thetraumatherapistproject.com/free book, and enjoy.